We have lots to discuss in today's video ahead of the NHL roster freeze. Tonight's trade rumors focusing on teams like Montreal, Vancouver, the New York Rangers, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Nashville Predators. Plus, we have news today from Amazon regarding a second season of the FaceOff series. We got more news from the NHL waiver wire, including the Bruins and Tyler Johnson parting ways. Lots of other updates around the league, including some injury updates, roster moves, and Team Canada has announced its leadership group for the upcoming World Junior Championships. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss. Of course, we're not far away now from the NHL holiday roster freeze. We are still just a few hours out from that kicking in. So if there's no other trades this evening, then we won't be getting any other roster changes really, or player movement for the next week until after Christmas. So we'll see. You never know. There could still be time. Of course, as I record this video, I know it's about 8:30 Eastern time, so by the time this hits the YouTube channel, you never know. There could be some other activity, and if there is, I'll be back with another video discussing it this evening. But let's first start with the news from the NHL waiver wire. Yesterday, we had 4 players on waivers. Thought maybe there might be a claim, but there wasn't. All players from yesterday's waiver wire activity was cleared, so they've been reassigned. But one, I guess you could say, a little bit surprising move that came today. Not overly shocking, I guess, especially after the Bruins picked up Oliver Wahlstrom as well. But the Bruins and Tyler Johnson are going to be parting ways. Tyler Johnson is on waivers today, but he's on unconditional waivers for the purpose of contract termination. So that experiment, you could say, is ending. Of course, Johnson went to training camp with the Bruins on a PTO, hung around, had to wait a while, eventually got signed. He's played, I believe it's 9 or 10 games, hasn't really been able to produce a whole lot. So they were looking for other opportunities, and I think, essentially looks like Wahlstrom's going to get the opportunity here to kind of take his spot on the roster. So I'm not sure what the future holds for Tyler Johnson. I don't know if another team out there will sign him. He's been through a lot injury-wise. Obviously, he's had a very successful career. Will he find another team? Will he retire? I guess we'll have to wait and see exactly what the future holds. Lots of other updates around the NHL today when it comes to injuries and roster moves, etc. We got word today that the Predators they're getting back Jeremy Lauzon for tonight's game. The St. Louis Blues tonight are battling the Lightning. They are going to be without Philip Broberg. He's out with an illness, and they recalled Tyler Tucker to take his spot. The Winnipeg Jets reassigned Dylan Coughlin after clearing waivers today. He's down to the American Hockey League. They've also sent down Nikita Chibrikov as well. The Seattle Kraken reassigned Mitchell Stevens to the American Hockey League as well, of course, after picking up Capo Caco. Obviously, he'll get an opportunity to play, and one less forward would be needed on the roster there. They also did confirm from GM Ron Francis that Caco will get an opportunity to play top 6 minutes and power play minutes as well, at least in the early going, to see what he can do, but he'll be given every opportunity to play more of an offensive role. In Detroit, they've reassigned goalie Ville Husso to the American Hockey League, so they've gotten Talbot and Lyon are now back from injuries, so Husso goes back down. The Lightning confirmed today that defenseman J.J. Moser is going to be out for about 8 to 10 weeks with a lower body injury. That is a significant layoff. That's over 2 months, so that's certainly going to be a big blow to their back end. The Edmonton Oilers tonight will be getting back winger Victor Arvidsson as well. The Buffalo Sabres also confirmed a few things today, including that Jordan Greenway is going to be out for a long term as well. I believe Greenway ended up requiring a surgery, so he's looking. They didn't give a specific timeline, just said long term. We're probably looking at multiple months here, so don't expect to see Greenway in the Sabres lineup here anytime soon. Now, another move that hasn't happened yet, but it's expected to. I know Elliot Friedman, Chris Johnson, and a few others have already reported on it, but it looks like the Maple Leafs are going to be recalling goalie Matt Murray. Now, of course, we know that Anthony Stolar has been down with an injury, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. Joseph Wall obviously will get every opportunity to start a majority of those games during his absence, but there's going to be some times, especially during back-to-backs, that they're going to need another goalie, and of course they need to kind of hope and pray that Wall doesn't get hurt, because like I said, he's got unfortunately in an injury-riddled past. But they've had Hildeby up with the club so far. But Murray was able to play a bit in the minors this year, and he just pitched a shutout in the last couple of days here. So Murray has been playing well. So again, he hasn't played in the NHL since April of 2023. That's, we're basically about a year and a half. So it's a long stretch here. He missed all of last season with the hip recovery, hip surgery and everything that he went through. So he says he feels as good as he has in a long time. And he's obviously playing good at the lower level. So I think he's earned himself a shot to see what he can do. You'll be curious to see what happens with Murray during Stolarz' absence here. If he plays well and eventually might need waivers to go back down to the minors, would he play himself into another team? Hard to say what will happen there. But the Leafs certainly have good depth at the position. And sounds like they're going to give Murray an opportunity. Now, as far as the World Junior Championships coming up, that's not too far away. Of course, it starts on Boxing Day. I know there are some pre-tournament games underway here now. Canada confirmed its leadership group here today, naming Winnipeg Jets prospect Braden Yager, of course, the original Pittsburgh Penguin pick who was moved in the Rucker McGroarty trade to the Jets. He's going to be the team captain for Canada. Avalanche prospect Callum Ritchie and Predators defensive prospect Tanner Molendyk are going to be the alternate captains and wear the A's. Now, of course, lots of interesting names left off the Canadian roster. You could probably say the same to some degree about the American roster as well. It's going to be an interesting tournament nonetheless. Lots of top picks from the last draft not on Canada's roster, including some top defensemen like Zane Parekh and Carter Yakimchuk, etc. Looks like Gavin McKenna starting the tournament as the 13th forward as well. That won't last long, in my opinion. He's definitely going to be one of the best forwards on the team. So some curious selections for sure by the Canadian brass. We got word today in confirmation from Amazon that they're going to be doing another season of the FaceOff series. Of course, we know that season 1 was a big hit. The ratings have been tremendous, and certainly I know I enjoyed watching it. It was released right around the beginning of the NHL season. So they confirmed after last year's successful pilot season, you could say, that they are going to be coming back for season 2, and some production is already underway. They will have a series of players that the cameras follow around and tell stories about, like we saw last season's episodes be focused on a number of different players. I believe there was upwards of probably close to 10 players involved. There was a goalie episode that had multiple goalies, and you had Matthew Tkachuk in there being a big star of it, obviously with them winning the cup and, McDavid, Draisaitl, etc. But the only player we know so far that's going to be in this season 2 is Brady Tkachuk, captain of the Ottawa Senators. So clearly Brady had a bit of a cameo last year during Matthew's time on camera, especially after winning the cup. So Brady will obviously, he made mention that he's looking forward to hopefully getting a chance to show people a lot more about Ottawa and just kind of showing off the city and showing off, how great it is to live and play in the area. So that's certainly good to see, and hopefully they continue their season. And right now, the way they, at a successful rate right now, as I record this video on Thursday night, they are in a wildcard spot. And obviously, if they're trending towards the playoffs, they could make for a lot more interesting content. So I hope for their sake that it happens, and it'll be fun to watch Brady. And we'll learn more about other players that are going to be featured in this season, likely here in the short term. They're already obviously filming, so I suspect that the other players that are going to be involved here should be named here in the not too distant future. Now, in today's rumor mill, we got lots to talk about. Let's start in Nashville. We know that we saw a trade between the Predators and the Canadiens last night, and I think for both clubs, there's going to be a spin-off effect. For one, in Nashville, we know that Barry Trotz moves the more expensive defenseman here, Alex Carrier, to the Canadiens for Justin Barron, who can go to the minors. So really, he saves well over $3 million in space. And Trotz himself did have comments to reporters suggesting that the newfound cap space may be put to use in a separate move, is kind of the impression he gave. And a lot of people are saying that the deal would make more sense if something else follows. We know that they've had their eye on improving their center depth, and it's believed that, I'm not sure if they'll do the deal or not, but it's believed they've really zoned in on Sabres centerman Dylan Cozens, who we know has not had a great season. The contract might not be looking as good as it was the day he signed it, but he's still a terrific young hockey player with lots of upside. And, like I said, we're going on about a year and a half now of, downward production and kind of struggling offensively, but at the same time, still somebody that a lot of people believe in, and he'll get things turned around. So I know the Sabres appear cautious here. They don't want to have another player leave the organization and go on to win a Stanley Cup somewhere else. So I'm not sure what balance we're going to see here out of Buffalo, but teams are circling for sure after 11 straight losses. Lots of teams that are looking for upgrades, especially a team like the Nashville Predators that are looking to get their season turned around in a hurry, would enjoy, obviously having, some of these players maybe being available. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Nashville, heavily focused on Cozens, but it doesn't mean for sure they're going to pull the trigger here. But we said we have got a few hours left, and even if it doesn't happen tonight, they will continue their pursuit or move on to a new player if the Sabres make it clear they're not moving him early in the new year. But the Predators are definitely going to be busy in putting that newfound space to use. Now, the spin-off effect of Montreal is we know that probably almost guarantees us that David Savard is going to be moved. Bringing in Carrier gives us another right shot veteran D to kind of have around to help the younger D around and help with the development. And as I said, it just kind of gives them more security that Savard can be traded. Now, we haven't heard any new intel on Savard in a while, except the fact that we know that the Oilers were a team that was heavily rumored, and that the Canadiens feel like they might be able to draw a first-round pick out of moving him along. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But clearly the Montreal Canadiens will definitely be busy. Be curious to see how things play out. But expecting into Savard trade just kind of gets more and more likely now with an extra guy like Carrier around the franchise. Of course, we saw Capo Caco of the New York Rangers be traded yesterday, and of course we had comments from him today kind of confirming in a way that he has in the past had some level of conversations with the Rangers when it comes to maybe being dealt and getting a first start. Sounds like it wasn't really demanded or wasn't a situation where he insisted on being traded or anything like that, but they did, I think last summer by the sounds of it, kind of acknowledge that it's something that they both clubs might want to look at. So even though it was never officially requested, it sounds like we had said before, that Kakko was very open to getting a fresh start. We also had comments today from Rangers centerman Vinny Trocheck commenting on the fact that they had a previous, obviously, situation there where, with the comments around the fact that the Rangers supposedly had a players-only meeting and were talking about the concerns around the general manager. I know that report, which I believe the first I had heard from that came from Steve Dangle. And Trocheck wanted to meet with the media today to make sure that he let everybody know that that was not the case, that it was false, that it did not happen. He said if the players are going to have a players-only meeting, it is going to be about them and about them alone, not about management or anybody else. So clearly Trocheck was annoyed that I was getting so much attention in the media, and obviously wanted to make sure that they took a moment to kind of clear things up, even though, he's not going to be given the official C because they've already announced they're not going to have a captain for the rest of the year. It does seem and feel like an action of a team captain here. So Trocheck kind of taking some time to set the record straight to make sure everybody was aware how they felt, about Kakko and about everything that's been going on. That, if they're going to have a team meeting, it's not going to be, to make sure that you trade somebody, under the radar, like without, really going through proper channels, or with the complaining about management or what have you. If they're going to have a players only meeting, it's going to be about the players, by the players, for the players, and that is it. So we'll see. Now, when it comes to the Rangers, they are also getting a lot more attention on young defenseman K-Andre Miller. Again, no guarantees they move him. We don't know exactly what they're going to do. Obviously, at this point in time, lots of different guys are probably going to be starting to generate interest as teams kind of look to the Rangers to see what they might be willing to do But at the end of the day here, K'Andre Miller is a young defenseman with lots of upside. He's not going to be the only player that's getting attention, but I know that's somebody that's been mentioned here by NHL reporters today that is more and more likely to move as time here goes along. Now, the other big thing too as well is Vancouver. We've heard more and more talk still about the whole Miller and Pettersson thing. It was talked about again on the Donnie and Daly show. I don't know what to make of this, but it sure sounds like these two have had trouble coexisting for a long time, and I do wonder if it's going to lead to one of them eventually here in the not too distant future, moving on. We had comments from former head coach Bruce Boudreau acknowledging that the Miller-Pettersson thing existed when he was there. We've seen even on Power Play 1 with the Canucks that they're both not on that top power play unit, and that's obviously new and something that people feel is not necessarily just a coincidence. It just seems like it's a growing issue within the team. And a lot of people are saying that you can't win when you have two top players at such odds and that really don't like each other like this. So I would imagine that sooner or later you're going to have to see some sort of a move. Like I said, they're different players, different ages, but makes you really wonder. But I mean, the main rumors around the Canucks continue to indicate that they're looking really hard for a top four defenseman. I suspect that maybe they're looking at a guy like Bo Byram. Certainly other defensemen out there as well that the Canucks may be looking at, so it's difficult to say exactly where they're going to target. But, obviously for the Vancouver Canucks, bringing in what they have here last year, you expect them to be aggressive. The blue line continues to be the area of problem. So let me know your thoughts on all of today's rumors. Like I said, we've got lots of talk around Nashville and Montreal and the outcome of the trade we saw yesterday. Of course, that's big spin-off effects from both of those deals. The Rangers, do they have a culture problem? Was Kakko really, looking for a way out even before everything that happened here in the last couple of days? And, could K'Andre Miller end up getting enough attention that he ends up being the next Ranger to be moved on? And what's going to happen with Pettersson and Miller? Every time we turn around, there's new reports kind of suggesting how their interactions and everything really suggest that it's been a long time here that the team and personnel have known about their disconnect or lack of a relationship, if you will. And it's really difficult to win together when you don't have that kind of trust and relationship that you can both be top players and at least be, somewhat friendly within the locker room and, getting ready to play the games. I mean, even looking at some of Miller's mistakes in last night's overtime loss to Utah, to me, were inexcusable as well. It would have been Pettersson taking his spot on the ice. They weren't on PP1 together. Just really makes you wonder if head coach Rick Tocchet's making more of an effort to keep the two separated. It makes you really wonder what's going on. So let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.